What up, fellas?
What's up?
Hey, hey.
You guys in the rage bait business?
I have been known to dabble.
There we go.
Cool.
Nice.
All right.
Go, Jess.
Solana Spaces. Give us the TLDR. What the heck are you guys doing?
That's a great question.
Yeah, we do. Right now, we do two things: pop-ups, and we're focusing on e-commerce, which is trying to rebuild like the commerce layer for all of Solana.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Basically, we think that there's a lack of product discovery, and we want to create that product discovery layer for all products, especially physical products, to get found. I think they lack reach and visibility, and we want to sort of decouple that.
Okay, when you say commerce, is that like traditional e-commerce is kind of the right framing, or are tokens commerce?
No, we don't consider tokens commerce within our frame, and mostly like physical products. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of, because of the way Solana, the technology works, like it enables the building of like anything basically, right? So that could be a fitness tracker ring, that can be a coffee company, that can be an apparel company, and then that can be also be like, tokenized traditional stocks. So there's just this insane variety of products that are coming out of it, and a lot of those products do happen to exist in like the physical realm. So most of those products there's no central discovery mechanism for that, right? So we want to create a place, an environment where people can come and like shop, right? Basically find and discover products that they may not be able to. Otherwise, like right now, you have to know about a product. You have to, you have to follow their Twitter. You have to see it come across your feed. You have to go to a separate site here and there. So we want to kind of centralize in a good way, I guess, that process. So it makes it easier for these products to find customers and find users.
I mean, what's the right like Web 2 comp here? Is it like Shopify?
So, yeah, we say we're kind of like a combination of Shopify and Etsy. So Shopify allows like anybody to create a storefront for themselves, customize it, sell their products. Etsy is all under one umbrella, so you can get this discovery mechanism there. So we want to combine the customization of a Shopify with the discoverability of an Etsy. So,
okay, I think I'm somewhat aware of the lore here, because I think when I talked to Vibu, who I believe is tied to this, because I think you guys have a shirt with his face on it that I saw on the timeline recently.
That's we're workshopping that one.
We like trolling him.
Right. So there's he for the Vibu's sort of the middle manager over at Solana Foundation right now. Launched Drip and sold it. He previous to that had launched Beta, which was sort of these physical stores where tech products could come and get space to distribute, and they were building out a big retail footprint. Pandemic hits, kind of screwed that whole plan all over. Then I think Solana took over those stores. There was sort of some of their products coming through it, and now I'm seeing Solana Mobile as a meme coin / e-commerce play here. Are they connected, or am I just connecting dots that are just?
We're the spiritual successor, we like to say. So okay. Solana Spaces, Vibu started it in 2022, and it was this physical, permanent location for Solana products, onboarding, marketing, things like that. 2022-ish, FTX hit. We all know how everything went there. So that's two black swan events that hit his businesses hard. So he shut it down. Fast forward to the beginning of this year, a meme coin actually was launched by one of his somebody he was friends with who knew him for a long time. Got a bunch of people who were thinking about retail and commerce and products talking. It was this organic attention and renewed interest around the concept of retail as it pertains to Solana. And long story short, Vibu put a bunch of people in a group chat, and that very quickly went from us sharing our ideas to being like, hey, let's try this again. So Vibu's an advisor. Vibu's a good friend of ours. We have his full support and blessing, and he's always available to us. But yeah, we're it's a little bit of a different business model. But yeah, that's kind of the lore.
I'm interested in why you think Solana is like a useful frame or like starting point for e-commerce. Like, if you think about Amazon, it's like the everything store. I can go buy whatever I want for cheap. Etsy, handcrafted, handmade goods. Why is like starting with a Solana frame an interesting kind of e-commerce bucket?
I mean, I think commerce is simply better with Web3, right? The interaction that you can generally have through Web3 features and tools are simply not available in Web 2. For example, we talk about over 50% of our transactions for products that we sell at our pop-ups are done on-chain, right? On-chain payments. What happens after that is you effectively have data on wallet addresses of real people. That data is extremely valuable, something that many companies generally will not be able to ever get because you don't know who's behind, the face of a wallet address. Fast forward that, into how we can utilize that data. Well, we could basically share, wallet addresses with many of our partners, of which we have 100 plus, and they can reward you with airdrops and NFTs and token gated access to many other communities. So this to me is a realm of features that's just not possible with Web 2. And I figured, okay, well, Solana is one of the most vibrant ecosystems, extremely diverse culture, a wide product set. I don't know if many of your viewers know, but there's like maybe 100 or 200 brands out there that are selling extremely high value, like apparel to goods to shoes, chains, watches, etc. And we just want to pull that all together within Solana Spaces.
And on top of that too, like CRM, customer relationship management, is so much easier and more effective with blockchain, right? You have that direct line from consumer to all the way up to the vendors, and so being able to tap into that and not just be able to see and like use that data, but also reward. You're rewarding the people. You can target the people who are buying specific things. Like somebody, we can see who came to our very first pop-up in New York in May, and we can see that wallet transacted at our next pop-up, and that wallet transacted that all the way through. So we can see not only who's been supporting us, but we can see who's been supporting like which brands. And so that's valuable information for those brands to be able to really, really understand who their core fans are, their core community is. And in the spirit of Web3, you're able to then reward those people for actively supporting and taking part in it. So, and then, not to mention all of the fees and cuts that are taken out by a lot of the middlemen in terms of Stripe, Shopify, all of those middlemen. It's disintermediating this commerce too is really important.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I follow all that stuff, but I like really, I guess is the thing I want to say. To me, so I've seen. I think there was another. I think the ticker is Store. I think somebody else launched a Store token, and I remember my reaction to that being like, this market is absolutely tiny, and the benefits that come from this feel very, very niche right now. And I think while I agree that in many places, especially if you're looking at Amazon or these sort of like aggregator based retail stores, you are not getting the fullness of that customer relationship, which I think is an issue. But we do have Shopify, right? And Shopify, with a bunch of plugins and stuff, get you almost to the world that you're talking about. Obviously, maybe once we have stablecoin payments fully adopted and stuff like that, and costs come down a little bit. Yeah. So I think the core of Josh's point here is like, is there a big enough market here in this specific unlock that Web3 or crypto brings to the table here? And I think on one line, I'm like, I look at something like Blackbird and I go, oh, okay, like, bringing together a network of disintermediated, not self-referencing groups of restaurants, but there's a similar buyer type that comes in, and we can come over the top with, a loyalty point, and then ultimately just take over the payment stack. And here we go. Now we have a big sort of business here. Is that the right way to think about what you guys are doing here? And then I guess I'm just very curious what the product that you're building is, or like if maybe you can land it in, the roadmap here.
I think all businesses need to small, with a niche market, right? Our goal right now is to basically find a strong PMF within Solana itself, within the Solana ecosystem, using the Solana, Web3 rails, and within the Solana audience. We know that the appetite is there because we've seen the average order value, we've seen the sales revenue, and we've seen the sponsorship money from many brands wanting to do this. So the PMF in that regard is definitely there. Now, if your question is, well, how big can this get? Well, the
my question mostly is how. It feels like maybe landing it in what this product is, so we can position it in a category in our brains would be the most useful.
In my most like, ideal world, we would be basically a competitor to like a hybrid of a Etsy and a Shopify. In the more realistic sense, we may build a very competitive, toolkit that is super native for all Web3, commerce stores or people selling physical products, or really any product. I mean, we don't think that the thing that we're building is only going to be limited for physical commerce, but we are sort of embodying that for now, right? And so if we sort of pan that out, okay, then we can see that maybe we take over 50%, 70% of all products being sold on Solana with our toolkit. Scale that further, we've already been in conversations with communities like Sui and Aptos, right? Everybody has physical products. They want to be able to sell it better. Do they have a toolkit to be able to do that? Well, why can't Solana Spaces basically have that kind of toolkit that spreads across chains? And then taking that one step further, okay, well, would you envision a world in 5 years where people want to be able to ingest Web3 payments? Probably. Could you envision a world where they find, wallet addresses and, subsequent like NFT drops, or I don't know, like token gated access to Discord groups? Yeah, I can also see that world. So you can see like we could take it step by step by step every, year or two, and we could iteratively get bigger and bigger that way.
And I think too, like a lot of the signals that we're seeing is that these physical spaces that we're creating are really, really meaningful and impactful and resonant with the community, not just core Solana community members, not just core crypto people, but just anybody that has wandered in. We just did a pop-up on Wall Street with Solana Foundation to celebrate the Bitwise ETF filing on Wall Street, like Raj
goes to Wall Street.
Yeah, right. So, but within that, we were able to show off the culture and the community of Solana, and I think you're able to embody the again the diversity of the chain and the community in one place. Like you have these super buttoned up finance types that are spend all their days on Wall Street in suits, mingling with these like degenerate content creators, and they all have something to talk about, and they all have like something that they is bringing them together. And so we are finding that this cultural aspect is a really powerful part of our business more and more and more as we have these pop-ups. And we did a big event in LA called the Solana Summer House, which was very heavily skewed towards arts and culture and IP. And it was just way more successful than we had even expected. So I think one element of that toolkit isn't just like a tech stack, right? That toolkit is a way to help brands find their audience, right? To onboard new customers. We're onboarding through culture is one of the things that we kind of say. It's like we want people's first impression of crypto to be positive, to be like super memorable. And so like when people walk into our pop-ups and they've never really experienced anything crypto related before, they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. These people are really friendly. Their people are really interesting. There's so much vibrant culture and art and business and being done. And that sticks in their brain. So maybe a week, a month, a year later, when they hear about it again, they're like, oh yeah, like that was cool. As opposed to this, the traditional narrative and stereotypes of like, it's a scam. It's a bunch of like weird bros. Like
resonates a lot more for me from a pop-up perspective and like a community perspective. I think I struggle with like the tech side here, because I think we are seeing stablecoin payments integrated everywhere. I think the ability to kind of aggregate a large audience or buyer base to actually buy stuff is what Etsy and Amazon and these guys have done, and even Shopify trying to do that with their shop store has been, I think, struggled to get that same sense of aggregation. And so I think even just looking at your Twitter here, you guys clearly nail the vibes of the space, and there's a lot of time and attention clearly put into that. And so I can see that sort of sense of connection building up from the community perspective here. I think it's harder for me to connect to the idea that Web3 is actually this big unlock for retail outside of payments. And then how do you go sort of position for that, I guess, is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think the CRM element too is important. Like I think having that digital relationship between these brands and the customers is much more powerful with Web3 rails. So I see your point that there is fighting a lot of behemoths, but they're not Web3.
Pop-ups feel like it's like this bit of a bit of a blue ocean for you guys, right? You guys have the relationships and you have the locations and people are going there, and I see that as something being interesting that can emerge from it. I think as soon as I put you out into the category of like I'm not convinced Web3 is better for retail. I mean, or that the delta is big enough from what you can do. I mean, my wife runs a store. She's got a Shopify account. She's got a CRM. She's, yes, fees are a pain in the ass, and everybody's always trying to stand out. And if there's a new place where I can find a new market for my thing, 100% she'd be, exploring that versus sort of the time and return she'd have to invest into it. But I think it's funny when you say, Web3 is better for CRMs. I think the wallet address, interesting from a data perspective. If you're not actually tying that to an actual user that you have a relationship with, or some that is interested in hearing from you again, that seems to me where it kind of falls down. So I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I do think one interesting kind of frame is like if you're running at this future where you think all brands are going to be like tokenized or have tokens that capture the social cultural value, are used to reward the community. We've kind of talked about these as the like full stack brand opportunity of the future, where if you own this consumer relationship, people resonate with your brand, like the opportunities to almost become like a neobank and bring your community along for the ride is very interesting in crypto. So I could see one kind of tech platform opportunity where you're like, we're actually going to building the token brand coin for the brand coin future and brands that want to tokenize and the tool stack that.
Yeah, Miles from A16Z out here talking about arcade tokens, gentlemen. Arcade tokens going to be the next thing.
Or like Rect, like maybe Rect is just the start of this like much bigger.
Yeah, Rect is interesting.
I think Rect is a really good example of a single brand basically using their token for good, and of course making their operations significantly bigger. We do want to provide that kind of opportunity for other brands on our platform too. I just think that this area is hot to explore, and we just simply want to go down that path and see where it leads us, right? I'm not here to say that this is going to be definitively a world-changing product, but it's worth exploring to the point where we know that a problem exists, and we're going to do our best to go solve it for our partners and our vendors. And let's just see how far it goes, right? Let's just see how useful the product is, what people are willing to pay for it, because what we've built thus far, in my opinion, rivals all the back end of Shopify at, I would say, fraction of the price that we could offer it at. So if we could just do that,
listen, man,
and save people,
I am game for that 100%. And
exactly.
don't take my sort of trying to figure out my feelings on this as sort of trying to dissuade you from going after it in any way. I love that you guys are running at it. I think retail is. Yeah, it's a very difficult business and also a very powerful part of our economy, and being able to take a bunch of costs out of that or make them any more effective, especially in the long tail, huge value to the world. So rock and roll.
I'll give you guys a final stat, which we've surveyed many of our vendors, right? And again, in trying to solve a problem, you probably first want to identify what the problem is, and so talking to, I would say, maybe like 25 to 30 different brands that we have on board. They're paying on average between $60 to $400 at Shopify, right? I think your wife will probably tell you, per month. So again, as we dive deeper into the economics of those numbers for, again, products that are not being sold as much in crypto, right? Again, I understand like the appetite for physical products in crypto is not that big. And yet a lot of these storefronts are taking losses on their brand and their businesses simply because Shopify makes their life easier. Okay, well, if we just solve that little problem, we've captured at least 50, 100, 200 vendors. And then that itself becomes, a scalable aspect of, oh, well, listen, not only have we solved the problem of, this high payment fee, but then we've also enabled this host of, Web3 features natively for crypto brands.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting category. I'm very intrigued by. Yeah, and I think the place to start is with the people who have an immediate need for it. So it sounds like you guys have a good head start there. We got to leave it here, gentlemen, because time flies by so quickly.
I will say two super quick things on that. Like, I promise I'll make it super brief. One is like, we don't have to limit it just to Solana or crypto native products, right? Like they don't we could, like a t-shirt can be appealing to anybody, right? right? So I think that's one thing, is it doesn't have to, like, we don't have to think about it in terms of like, these are crypto products being marketed to crypto people. They're products being marketed to people, right? So that's one. And then I think the last thing and the most important thing I want to add is like, this concept of like a commerce layer, a commerce toolkit, like that doesn't have to be just tech. Like that part of that is connecting these brands with these users, is perpetuating that culture, creating a physical manifestation of that community and that culture. So try and like think about the concept of a commerce toolkit, of a commerce layer, as beyond just like, we're going to be the Shopify of.
Balaji says pop-ups are huge, baby. New technology we discovered. But I think there's some truth.
He does. The events business is hard, but it is really rewarding. But it is.
All right, guys, we got to leave it there. Sorry to have to cut us off. Otherwise,
no worries.
We're not going to get these.
Thank you.
So, this is at Solana Spaces, and I think $store. Yeah, cool. Would love to see you guys go win. And once you have something out, that I think, looking at the website right now, it looks like something coming soon. So send me a link when it comes to, so I can.
For sure. And come see us at Breakpoint.
We'll be there, baby. We'll be there.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Peace, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.